The children's fairy tale has an emotional narrative style. Silver Harbor and the Passion for the Sea. Silver Harbor was a small and charming port town overlooking the crystal-clear waters of the Aegean, where time flowed slowly. Every corner of this town, with its white painted houses, windows opening to the sea, and decorated with geraniums, was filled with the melody of salty winds and the cries of seagulls. With the first light of morning, fishing boats would set sail, and in the evening they would return with their nets full. The heart of the town was the ever-bustling harbor. Here, fishermen told stories, children played by the sea, and the elderly watched the sunset. Silver Harbor was like a peaceful dream in the lap of the sea. In this town lived a 10-year-old boy with a vast imagination and a heart burning with the fire of adventure. His name was Dennis. Like his name, which means sea in Turkish, he was in love with the sea. It was as if salt water flowed through his veins instead of blood. His eyes reflected that deep and peaceful blue the sea takes after a storm, and his hair resembled the golden sands shining under the summer sun. Dennis would wake up long before the sun lifted its head from the horizon, quietly passing through the narrow and stony streets of the town to reach the shore. Before anyone else woke up, even before the seagulls made their first cries, he would throw himself into the cool and inviting waters. Swimming was not just a sport for him, but also a meditation, a moment of freedom. He would hold his breath underwater, dance with the fish, and get lost among the seaweed. Dennis felt at home underwater. He believed he understood the whispers of the sea and the songs of the waves. Slightly beyond where Dennis swam, a small islet appeared on the horizon. This island had been the subject of many legends among the townspeople. Some said the island was cursed, while others claimed it hid priceless treasures. Children believed the island was full of ghosts, and adults whispered that it was dangerous to approach. However, for Dennis, this island was not a source of fear, but rather a symbol of endless curiosity and the desire to explore. Every day while swimming, his eyes would always catch on that islet, and in his dreams he would visualize himself solving the island's mysteries. He would swim around the island for hours, approach its shores, and sometimes even get close enough to touch the rocks in the shallows. But he could never muster the courage to set foot on land, to take that first step onto those unknown grounds. Every time he got close, his heart would pound in his chest, and a strange shiver would come over him. It was as if an invisible, ancient power was gently pushing him back, whispering that the right time had not yet come to reveal the secrets hidden in the depths of the island. This mystery entered Dennis's dreams, calling him to those misty shores even in his sleep. Chapter 2. Decision and Preparation. Days, weeks, and months passed. As Dennis grew, his curiosity about the island grew exponentially. He could no longer be satisfied with just looking from afar. The spirit of discovery within him was forcing him to go to the island. One evening, as the crimson colors of the sunset painted the sea, Dennis made his decision. Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow he would go to that island. This decision stirred a storm in his heart. Excitement, fear, and anticipation mixed together. He didn't sleep a wink that night. He tossed and turned in his bed. In his mind, he wandered through every corner of the island, imagining the adventures he might encounter. What secrets were hidden on the island? Were there really ghosts or priceless treasures? With these thoughts, dawn broke. With the first light of morning, he jumped out of bed. His mother and father had not yet woken. He slipped quietly into the kitchen, prepared a small sandwich for himself, and filled his water flask with fresh water. Into his old, worn backpack, he threw a flashlight, a rusty compass left from his grandfather, and a few pieces of rope. These were important items that would guide him in his adventure on the island, perhaps even save his life. His heart was thumping. This would be the greatest adventure of his life. As he walked out the door, he looked back one last time. Silver Harbor was still asleep, but Dennis was now awake. He had awakened to a new day, a new adventure. Chapter 3: The Journey and the First Step onto the Island. Dennis ran toward the harbor. The air was still cool and the sea was calm and smooth. He had a small wooden rowboat. As his father had taught him, he skillfully lowered the boat into the water. He gripped the oars and began to row toward the island. With every stroke of the oars, he was getting a little closer to the island, and the excitement in his heart was increasing. The sun was slowly rising, drawing a golden path on the sea. The silhouette of the island was beginning to become clear. Seen from afar, the island, which appeared only as a green dot, grew larger and more mysterious as he approached. A thick layer of mist had surrounded the island, as if the island was hiding itself from the outside world. Through the mists, strange-shaped trees, sharp rocks, and lush vegetation were appearing. Dennis encountered types of plants he had never seen before. Some were blooming in bright colors, and some were reaching for the sky with strange, twisted branches. Finally, he reached the shore of the island. He pulled the boat into a small cove and carefully stepped on land. When his feet touched the sand, both a sense of victory and a slight fear appeared in his heart. This place was very different from the town. The air was more humid, the vegetation denser, and the sounds stranger. Bird calls, the howling of the wind, and the buzzing of unknown insects mixed together. Dennis took a deep breath. There was no turning back. He was now inside the island. He closed his eyes and for a moment imagined the familiar sounds of Silver Harbor, the warmth of his mother. Then he opened his eyes and took his first step into the depths of the island. This step taken toward the unknown was opening the doors of a new world. Chapter 4: Adventures on the Island. Dennis began to advance with cautious steps into the island's untouched, dense, and humid forest. The giant-trunked trees were so dense and tall that they completely blocked the sky, and sunlight could only reach the ground in thin golden columns filtering through the leaves. There was no clear path. Dennis had to clear a difficult way for himself by pushing aside vines and giant leaves with his stick. He took out his grandfather's compass, its glass slightly cracked, from his pocket, waited for the trembling needle to stop, and began to advance resolutely toward the north. As he delved into the depths of the forest, the sounds around him began to change. The howling of the wind among the branches was turning into the voices of ancient spirits whispering in an incomprehensible language. Even the rustling of dry leaves under his feet echoed in this mysterious atmosphere. Suddenly, on the branch of an old plane tree right in front of him, a creature more magnificent than he had ever seen in any bird book appeared. It was a massive bird with the grace of a peacock and the vibrant colors of a parrot. Its feathers shone like sapphire, emerald, and ruby under the filtering sunlight. The bird had tilted its head slightly to the side, observing Dennis with wise and curious eyes. When Dennis took a step closer to the bird, holding his breath, something happened that he could hardly believe his ears. The bird flapped its wings slightly and began to speak in a melodious tone resembling a human voice. Yes, it was impossible but true. The bird in front of him was literally speaking. "Welcome, little explorer. You are not the first human to come to this island, but you are one of the bravest." Dennis froze in astonishment. You speak?" he stammered. "Of course I speak," said the bird. "I am the protector of this island. My name is Wise Bird. Why have you come to this forgotten island?" Dennis told Wise Bird about his curiosity about the island, the legends told by the townspeople, and his desire to solve the island's secret. Wise Bird listened to Dennis